Hello, welcome to another one of my YouTube duels, part of my Quick Wins with Mini Quotes series. Why bother, you might ask? Well, I hear so many students losing sleep because they can't memorise every blinking, stinking line of the play. I just want to say, work smart, slow down, aim for quality over quantity when you're selecting quotes and references. Bit like today, we're going to take a tiny detail from an inspector calls, and trust me, it's the way that we interpret or analyse or explain that quotation that's going to work like catnip on the examiner. He's going to love it. Now, the picky on the left probably explains why they let me teach English but not art. It's supposed to be Tom Cruise. What do we know about Tom Cruise? How does it link to Inspector Calls? Tom Cruise is an A-list actor. He's a very powerful figure in the movie industry. Also, he's a pretty short bloke. He's about 5'3" on his tiptoes. You know, he has to stand on a milk crate to kiss his leading ladies. But this is not me having a pop at small people. I'm not being sizist here, far from it, because Tommy Boy here, as well as embarrassing me with his gushing praise in the speech bubble, is helping me hammer home a vital point about evidence in your essays. And that point is this: rather than using big, unwieldy quotations that show off your fantastic powers of recall, in an essay, aim for short, effective, powerful quotations or references. This is going to help you, cruise to exam success. I don't know how I think them up. Anyway, that's enough of the half-cocked wordplay. Let's crack on with the video. This is one such pint-sized gem, a small, powerful quotation from the play. First line of dialogue, in fact. Mr. Berlin says to Edna the maid, giving us the poor Edna, that's right. And one of the things that this line of dialogue does is it gives us a hint or a clue. It foreshadows one of the play's key themes or preoccupations, namely the way that the working class, and in particular working class women, are exploited by the ruling class, or the bourgeoisie, or the Berlins. Because Berlin's treatment of Edna here isn't a million miles removed from how he treats Eva. They're just seen as little cogs, I said cog, little cogs to make the Berlin's lives easier. So the labour of the poor is keeping the rich in luxury. Which brings us on to the drink that Edna's serving up. We can analyse or deconstruct that very fruitfully, because they're drinking port here, not beer or cider, port. Now, on the one hand, port is very strong, but it'll blow your head off. It's like 20%. Port is to wine what a tank is to a water pistol. You know, it really packs a wallop. But what it does, that use of port, is it establishes the wealth of the Berlins, because it's kind of like a cultural signifier, because port has connotations of wealth and luxury. So again, it's hammering home that message that the poor's labour keeps the rich in luxury. In fact, you can look at it this way: the money made from working Eva to the bone pays for a maid to serve you expensive drinks. And if you're a real linguistic Jedi, you know, a real high ability student, you can probably do something with that statement, that's right. What does that infer? It implies, doesn't it, that it's correct, it's normal, it's the status quo for the poor to serve the rich. You take a Smurf, as I call them, like Mr. Burling, Smurf being an acronym for smug rich, let's call them fools. These Smurfs, these smug types, have a bloated sense of entitlement. To them, it's the most natural thing in the world that the poor serve them. Okay then, having analysed the heck out of that binky detail, that wee bit of evidence, let's now stitch in some relevant contextual information. That scene with Edna reflects the nature of the government in 1912 when the play is set. It was a laissez-faire government back then. Laissez-faire sounds very fancy schmancy, doesn't it? Laissez-faire is a French word, translates as leave to do. In a laissez-faire society, a laissez-faire government, what it does is it leaves the rich and poor to their own devices. There's very little state intervention, state support, which is great news if you're rich. It means minimal taxation. It means you get to set the pay scales and conditions for your workers, so there's no problem putting a 14-year-old boy to work for peanuts down a mine. That's A-OK with the government. Not so good, of course, if you're poor. If you're sick, you need expensive medical treatment, hey, the government says, that's very sad, but that's not our problem. Again, you've lost your job, your kids are going hungry. Government says, well, you might want to file that under W for we don't care. You are on your own. And of course, your employer, as my picture suggests there, has you over a barrel. You've got to take a job for one of these Smurfs, these smug rich fools. You're either a servant for these odious types, the Berlins, or you're working in their factories. So, we've had the theory, let's now see what it looks like when we're serving this stuff up to the examiner. That little quotation, to Edna, that's what I call a flexi quote because it can be rolled out and interpreted in response to a number of exam questions. It's very flexible like that. I've colour-coded my exam response, point in red, evidence in green, explanation in blue, and the contextual thing in black. Why I've underlined certain words, just so you can see where I'm linking to the question on gender. These are key words or words linking to the question, so you can ensure that your response is task-focused. You'll notice on the second half of it, it says the gendered power disparities, the last little bit in blue, the gendered power disparity in the play then, and that then, very clever trick that. What I'm doing is I'm bringing my response back on track. Because I've been a bit of a clever dicky, done a bit of showboating with that stuff about the connotations of port, I'm just making sure that I loop it back, return it to the question. There'll be no hard sell here, folks. Frankly, this book doesn't need it. I've taken a whole heap of GCSE exam questions and I've answered them to level 8 or 9 standard. This is a priceless revision tool. I tell you, I'd have traded body parts for something like this as a kid. If you want it, Amazon has it. It's going to make you pretty much unbeatable in the exam. This time I've used our little quotation to answer a question on relationships. This is a paragraph so beautiful, I tell you, the examiner's going to photocopy it, sleep it under his pillow. I've tweaked it, of course, to address the question, and again you can see underlined how I've done that. And the showstoppers keep coming. Final one now, folks. Again, as I've said, this is catnip for the examiner. It's a response adjusted for a question on social class this time. And it's just a crying shame I can't use my acronym Smurfs, Smug Rich Fools. I don't think the examiner's going to thank me for that. And that's us, folks. One binky quotation handled with class and pizzazz. Moral of the story, keep those quotes and those references short and powerful, and you'll smash it in the exam.